Welcome to Kentucky Roll Call.
Here's a swing and a drive to deep left. Back goes Nixon. Looking up. Daly wins it. Daly wins it. Daly wins it.
With Walker and Peak.
Woodson from the gun. Play fake. Step it up. He's throwing deep down the near sideline. He's got Johnson. 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Kentucky!
When Mitch called me and talked to me about being the head coach here at Kentucky, I understand the assignment. We are here to win banners.
Back outside. This is the point where he always hits it. Oh! Aaron Harrison beyond belief.
Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday to you. October 14th, 2025. You're listening to Kentucky Roll Call here on Big X Sports Radio, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. And for the first time in a very, very, very long time, you have heard a new Kentucky Roll Call intro, everybody. How about that? Welcome on in. I absolutely hated missing yesterday's show, I being TJ Walker. I'll talk about that here in a moment. But we are back today. We're live. Stephen Peak, you heard him in the intro. He's sitting right across from me. And Matt Childress in the other room. Peak, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Good. I need to get the Nick Roush roll call. Like I need to figure out how to get that implemented into that intro. Can we just get Roush? Can we get a Roush drop from that? Just
a roll, so he's like always there.
Yeah.
He did do a good roll call. I won't say too many nice things about Roush, but that was one of them. He would do a good roll call.
That was my wake up in Dallas for like 5 days for SEC Media Days at 6 a.m. because they were on. Or no, was it 6 a.m.? It would have been, right? Because they were on Central Time. Y'all were at 7, and yeah, we'd be out all night. Getting to know some of the people around the SEC, other media members, and getting back at 1 a.m. And then 5 hours later, I had a Nick Roush roll call to wake me up. So I would love to have that as part of the intro. We got to get Nick in here to do that.
We will certainly make that happen, or at least get a cut of it. Producer Matt, what's up? How are you?
Nothing much. I'm good. New intro kind of scared me a little bit. I thought we were doing the wrong show, but, it worked out. I thought it sounded pretty good. I'm ready to go.
Well, good. I'm happy everybody's doing well. Hopefully had good weekends. It's Tuesday. Yeah, so it's Sunday, and I cut the grass. Beautiful weekend weather-wise, fall weather, just the best weather in Kentucky. And cut the grass on Sunday, and then we're going over to the parents' house for the Packers game, which is a Sunday dinner. It's kind of the norm in our family, and we're very happy and appreciative to have that. And get over to the parents' house. I'm talking to the wife, and I'm like, man, I am sore. I don't know what it is, but I'm just like sore. And she's like, well, you haven't cut the backyard and the front yard, and that takes about 2 hours. She's like, you haven't cut the backyard and the front yard consecutively in a couple months. Maybe you're just sore from that. And Peak, I work out most days, maybe not every day, but I'm not like a meathead by any stretch of the imagination, but I do work out a little bit. Where I basically just to say that to be like, no, I don't think I'd be sore from mowing the grass. Like I do some workouts. I don't think that. Now different muscles and different things and 2 hours of doing anything could make you a little sore. So I was like, all right, maybe she's right. Maybe I'm just sore from cutting the grass. Evening goes on. A couple hours later, I'm like, all right, something's up. Like it just hurts to move. Like just leaning to the left hurts, leaning to the right hurts. And I'm like, I hate to have to pull this card, but like, Hannah, you may have to do bedtime with the kids. I may just have to go lay down. I'm able to struggle through bedtime.
You still did it?
Barely.
Okay.
She's doing the heavy lifting. I think she did bath time, and I just was off to the side, just not feeling good whatsoever. I knew I was getting sick. Didn't really feel queasy or anything like that, but just knew something was up. So get the kids down. I'm super thrilled when that's over because then it's just like, then I can tap out. Once the kids are out, I can tap out. And I'm laying in bed, very clearly have a cold or some sort of sickness, and it's like one of those things, Peak, where just rolling over hurts. Like you just can't get comfortable because you're so uncomfortable. And then anytime you think that you're comfortable, so I'm like making these pathetic little noises like, and then I got to roll over and just rolling over hurts. It's like, on the other side. And I noticed the wife leaves, which I'm kind of happy that she did because I feel horrible that I'm keeping her awake just by being a miserable, whiny baby. And then Then I notice she leaves, and I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of good because I think it's time to throw up now. I wasn't queasy, but now all of a sudden I feel sick.
That's the worst.
I'm glad she's out of the room because I make some gross, terrible noises when I puke. Not that I think anybody makes pleasant noises.
No.
Actually, I think producer Matt makes just very serene, beautiful noises when he throws up. The only guy in the world.
I go and turn the shower on and
Smart
everything.
move.
You know,
Yeah.
just, I don't want anybody here.
Noise pollution. That's
Yeah.
smart. No, that's what my line of thinking. Like, good, she's out of the room because this is going to be gross. And it was gross. It wasn't just like I didn't have anything to puke up. No, I had plenty to puke up, and I puked up all of it. Like all of anything.
Was anybody in the house sick before this?
No.
No, it's
No.
you
And
brought this in.
Normally the trend is I get it last. So normally it's like the kids get it, and then it goes to the wife, and then I'm just sitting back kind of like, oh, I'm so happy you didn't get me. And then about 2 days later it lags, and I'm the last one to get hit by it.
Ooh.
So I'm like, all right, whatever. I throw up. I feel so much better after throwing up. Although it was a unique throw up in the sense that like the on and off button on my sweat pores was crazy. When I was throwing up, Pete, it was like I just got done running a marathon. Sweat was dripping off my chin like in streams, just like dripping off. And then I stopped throwing up. Everything was good. No issue. Like I felt better, not 100%, but I felt better. The rest of that night wasn't great. But I get back to bed. The wife isn't there. And the only reason I'm mentioning her not being there or being there so much is because it turns out she left the room because she had to go throw up. And she didn't want to throw up in the bathroom while I was there. So she got it around the same time that I got it. It just hit me a little bit earlier. Sure enough, I wake up on Monday, and I feel pretty good. It's not ideal that both of our girls are on fall break, so I have to watch them all day. But the wife's like, I'm not going to work. I feel terrible. So that's nice to have her around, but now I need to take care of her and the two girls. Long story short, we still tried to make radio happen in some capacity, but it was just going to be too much, too soon. So we had to take the day off. I apologize. Peak was in Lexington covering Mark Stoops, which was pretty wild. Mark Stoops press conference. Which
Just so many good things to come out of a Mark Stoops press conference here lately. This, they get more interesting every week.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It seems like somebody that just gets more and more checked out despite what he says.
That's really what it is.
But that being said, we're going to talk about that. There's so much to catch up on from a Big Blue weekend. The Cats take on Texas this weekend. It officially feels like basketball with the Big Blue Fan Fest and Big Blue Madness over the weekend. Everybody in on all the happenings, get your opinion on things, producer Matt's opinion on things. It was a wild weekend of NFL football. My Green Bay Packers have won a game for the first time since 9/11. Never forget. Happy about that.
Really broke my neck with that one over the weekend.
Beating the Cincinnati Bengals, which is great to see them on the schedule. And Joe Flacco doesn't get the last laugh on me, Stephen P.
Yeah.
That is important. Old man Flacco goes down to the pack attack. The Dolphins and Patriots, did they play either team?
The Dolphins did, yeah. They're 1-5.
Yeah,
it's a bad football season for me, man. As a Murray State grad, they're 0-6.
Oh.
Kentucky, what are they? 2-3, and the Dolphins 1-5. I'm ready to move on to basketball season.
I believe that. And the Patriots, they were off.
No, we played.
Did you play Thursday?
Played the Saints. Got that win.
I don't know why that game.
Top of the AFC East now. Beat out the Bills.
Gosh, that's crazy.
Imagine me forgetting about the Patriots versus Saints game, which I totally did for what it was worth. But you all, the Patriots got the win.
Oh, yeah. It was a great game, actually.
Well, good. And so it was a good weekend for all of us except for Stephen Peak, which as a Dolphins fan, you've probably just reserved. I go from having two Steelers fans on Kentucky Roll Call to instead just shifting over to the AFC East, where I've got the Dolphins and the Patriots.
Man, 2 years ago, TJ, the Dolphins won a game 70-20, and I was thinking this is the new era of Miami Dolphins football. I have been a fan since 2002. I've never seen them win a playoff game, and it looks like that streak's going to continue this year. It's wild how fast that started to fall apart. Even last season, they started out well, then they played Buffalo, Tua gets hurt, and they missed out on the playoffs, and then this year it's just been the thing is that they've lost now 4 games by an average of 5 points. They're right there to win these games, but even if they did, they're not a Super Bowl team, and big questions in the secondary this year, but it's really been the rushing defense has been absolutely atrocious. I mean, just terrible. Against the Panthers, I think they were giving up 9 yards a carry to one guy. It's just,
a backup at that.
Yes, and it's just been pulling for losing football teams, man. It's just I'm so ready for basketball to start, and that's why Saturday was kind of cathartic for me, just to turn the page and get excited about sports again. Yeah, because the Cubs lost. The Cubs also lost on Saturday, knocking them out of the playoffs.
It was really a tough sports. We had only UK football not there to ruin things for you. But that was a pretty brutal weekend for you, all things considered.
But there was some good stuff. Kentucky basketball. I haven't been to a Big Blue Madness that had that fan energy. The one last year was good, and Rick Pitino coming out made it special. But there hasn't been this energy from the fans. Even the last couple years of Calipari, those Big Blue Madnesses were kind of lame, and people were just down on Calipari, down on the program in general. There is a new energy in the fan base, and that was a Big Blue Madness that had me thinking like, oh, this is what it's like when people have expectations for the team. The first Big Blue Madness I went to was 2022, kind of lame. 23, not great. 24 was, like I said, good because of Rick. But this one was, we're back. That was the attitude from the fans, from the players. That video they played beforehand, if you haven't seen that, check that out, because that's award-winning cinematography, storytelling. It was great. And so many little things. I know we'll talk about this more, but I thought that the Trent Noah intro was great. We've talked about it on this show before. Why not do the You'll Never Leave Harlan Alive at the basketball games when you have a guy from Harlan who plays on the team? Might be your best shooter. So, and then also seeing Trent Noah and Andrea Jelovich have a shootout for the three-point shooting competition. I love Andrea Jelovich's shot. I love it.
It's kind of slow, but it's really pretty.
Well, when you're 6'11",
you can be a little slow.
Yeah,
you
you remember Paul Pierce's shot was very slow too, and he made quite a few of them. So
He also pooped his pants during a game.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Wow. How did I not know about this?
Yeah, that's pretty.
Didn't he come back in a wheelchair in that same game?
Yeah, he did. He did.
Why do you need a wheelchair?
Because he wanted to make it.
Oh, okay.
He was injured.
Okay. Got it. Well, let's hope Andrea Jelovich doesn't do that.
What do you think's more memorable about Paul Pierce, pooping his pants or coming back on the wheelchair? But the two things do go hand in hand.
Pete didn't even know he pooped his pants, so it's got to be the wheelchair.
Did you know about the wheelchair, Pete?
No, I didn't. I know Paul Pierce as an NBA champion, but
not an avid pants pooper.
No, I wasn't aware of that part of his game.
But anyways, he did have a slower release. Let's hope that Jelovich never accidentally Yella hits his pants.
Yeah.
No dumb button, TJ. Relax.
The watching those two guys go at it and hit some. They had the what they call it, the three. It's worth 3 points. It's just a little bit deeper of a 3-point shot.
The money ball.
Yeah, well, yeah. And you can. It's optional. Yeah, and they nailed both of those. This is a team, and we've talked about it before. But as they were being introduced, even I was like, oh yeah, Cam Williams, a 41% 3-point shooter last season. There's just guys who keep flying under the radar, and I do think that this team with their depth, as each player was being announced, it was just, oh yeah, him too. Oh yeah, that guy's going to have a big game. Colin Chandler's going to have a big game. Trent Noah's going to have a couple games this year where he scores over 20 points. And you just go down the line. It's exciting, TJ. This is as exciting. This is as excited as I've seen this fan base since I've been at Kentucky Sports Radio. And it's just been a lot of fun to be around, especially after what we're going through with this football team.
Well, no doubt that just the football fatigue is only helping. And thank goodness it's a top 10 basketball team. We'll talk about the AP poll and the ranking.
Underrated, but I like it.
I'm just blessed and appreciative that it's not like the number 23 team in the country or the number 19 team.
Is that where they were
country.
last year, 23?
I don't know what they were last.
I'm pretty sure.
But
this is the highest ranking since going into the 2022-23 season when they brought Oscar back.
Oscar back. What were they then? Like
Fourth.
Okay.
Yeah. And they got a 6th seed and lost to Kansas State in the second round. So preseason rankings don't mean anything.
They mean something in the sense of like how was your off season perceived?
Okay.
And if you have a good preseason ranking, it generally means you won the offseason in some capacity. Kentucky did. I think it's ridiculous that they are ranked 9th. There are not 8 teams better than Kentucky, but history will prove me right, and we'll see that as the season goes on. It doesn't mean anything, just what the number is next to your name. But if it was a 23 or a 24, we would say, all right, not really where we want for UK standards, but it's not the end of the world. But I'm excited for the basketball season. I hope they surprise me. I'm just thankful we're not even doing that. And there would be much worse scenarios than that for what it's worth. But I'm happy that we're literally going into a basketball season where we're hoping for a national championship, expecting a Final Four, instead of just, well, I'm happy that UK basketball's got new energy. I'm happy that everybody's excited. I'm happy that everybody's excited, and it's legitimately a great team. Last year, I thought it was a good team. I was excited about the team, but I didn't think that realistically they were going to be able to win a national championship. Granted, if they don't get hurt, maybe they could have proven me wrong. However, this year's team, they can win a national championship. I don't think I'll be proven wrong. And last year in the preseason rankings, Kentucky was number 23 exactly. Yeah, so right there on the spot with the number 23 ranking last year heading into the season. Yeah, so if it was a dreadful football season and it was like, all right, well, this is a basketball team that should probably, hopefully make the second weekend, that would kind of stink, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's not that. So I'm thankful for that, and it's legitimately one where you're hoping to win at least 4 tournament games and maybe even more than that. Watching on TV and following along on Saturday with the coverage, it looked awesome. Peak, I got to a point when I was working for Cats Illustrated or writing for Kentucky Sports Radio, people would ask me about Big Blue Madness, or they'd say, should I go? Should I travel from X part of the state or this part of the state? And I would just flat out tell them, no. Like, go to a game. Yep. Don't go to Big Blue Madness. It's not worth it. It's cool and it's fun. And if I lived in Lexington, I'd probably and it was tradition or whatnot, I'd go. But don't drive for Big Blue Madness. It's just not worth it anymore. And to be fair to John Calipari, in 10 years, depending on where the basketball program's at, Big Blue Madness may be boring under Mark Pope. It could just not have the same punch that it has, potentially. That's not impossible. After the first couple of Big Blue Madnesses with John Calipari, nobody really thought that it would get super stale 8-7 years
he was
later.
good even through 2015. It was kind of after that.
Well,
he stopped giving the speeches.
The issue with Big Blue Madness with post John Calipari was nothing was new. Nothing was really exciting. You weren't celebrating anything from the year before to make Big Blue Madness a big party or celebration.
There wasn't any returning players.
But there was nothing from the athletic program, and they tried. It wasn't for a lack of trying. You couldn't do anything. They couldn't figure out how to make it exciting without anything big happening in the prior March. So it just kind of ran out of juice. This is different, though. And Peak, I've heard from probably half a dozen people that went over the weekend that said very similar, if not the same sentiment to you. Feels like UK basketball's back. Feels like this is what I remember UK basketball. When Cal was rocking and rolling in 2015, this is what it felt like. And that feeling is back in the fan base with Mark Pope only coaching one season, a season that was great by all accounts, but did end by losing to your rival in the Sweet 16. You're back in year number 2, and you're at a peaks of the fan base similar to when they had started a season 38-0. Yeah. I'm not so sure anybody quite understands this platter that is being presented to Mark Pope. Win, and you will have the fan base eating out of your hands for the foreseeable future. I mean, for 3 years probably. Win big, and you're getting yourself a little buffer zone here.
Yeah.
But it goes on the other foot, too. Where
there's a chance to disappoint the fans this year.
There's a good feeling in the fan base, and there's a lot of expectations. And I think the fans like Mark Pope, and just by being a good dude, he's built up some goodwill. Where if this season ended with a second-round loss, or it wasn't the season that we're all anticipating. I'm not saying people would be saying fire Mark Pope, but there probably wouldn't be as much money in the nil coffers next year.
Yeah.
That matters. And two, it could start to get a little awkward.
People
and we don't want it
start
to get awkward
questioning
yet.
if it will work or not.
No need for it to get awkward yet, but that being said, when everybody's so hunky-dory and happy and this is great, this is what we like, there's expectations that come with that. And the expectations in Lexington are to win. Mark Pope needs to do that this year. And the beautiful thing is, everybody in the fan base is on the same page that he's going to with this team.
Yeah, that's what I don't think there's anything to worry about. I really am confident that this team is going to rack up a lot of wins, that they're going to compete for an SEC regular season title. I feel good about them winning a Saturday game in Nashville. And we've talked about it before. If you are doing both of those things, if you have a 13-5 regular season in the SEC, if you are playing on Sunday, you're going to be a really good seed in the NCAA tournament. And that, TJ, that means, all right, you basically have a first-round win. And your second-round team, if you're a 1 or a 2 seed, you typically win those games. I mean, it's 7-10, pulls that off every once in a while.
Sure.
Now you really only got to beat 2 good teams to get to the Final Four. So I am confident that you can be in that position. Now, stuff happens. Sweet 16 games, you can get beat by a 3 seed or a 4 seed. You obviously can lose in the Elite 8 as a 1 or a 2. Happens all the time. But I think that getting to the Sweet 16 and being in that situation is very likely. I think it would be a disappointment if you ended up as a 3 seed again.
I know how you feel about
Is that
seeding,
fair?
Stephen
Is that fair
P.
though? Because how many 3 seeds have won the national title in my lifetime since 1990?
Was Syracuse a 3 seed in
Syracuse
03?
Syracuse was a 3 seed. UConn was a 3 seed in 2011. I think there was one more. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but 3 times in 34 tournaments because we skipped one. So I want to be one of the top 8 seeds. And I honestly think you're right. I think they're underrated at 9. And I'm fine with that. I'm not mad at anybody in the AP who voted Kentucky to be lower. I don't care because we really don't know. This is got to be the hardest time to ever do preseason polls. Maybe even harder than the one and done era. Because during that era, Kentucky was top 5 every year. And then they would just disappoint us as we got further along in the season, starting with that 2017-18 season. But just looking at the preseason rankings, here's your last 3, okay? You had 2023 or 2022-23 number 1 North Carolina was the preseason number 1, and they were not in the top 25 by the end of the season. 2023-24 was Kansas. They were ranked 19th at the end of the season.
The Hunter Dickinson era in Kansas did not go well.
And then the same thing last season, Kansas, preseason number 1. And where did they finish? They got, a 7 seed, lost in the first round to John Calipari.
Yep, they sure did. And if you're wondering, last year's national champion, Florida, came in the preseason poll number 21 in the rankings. So they were not a top 20 team to start the year, but they cut down the nets when it was all said and done. Kentucky, a top 10 team to start the year, but not in the top 8. And you're right. And my tweet yesterday, as soon as the AP poll, the tweet came out, I just quote tweeted and said, "This is a joke." I was being a little facetious. However, Kentucky should not be ranked outside the top 5, as a matter of fact.
No, the KenPom has them at 4, and I've said once this roster was put together, I said they're top 5, and that. We'll get into the Tyron Stokes stuff, but Kentucky fans hitting the panic button on Mark Pope recruiting does it make any sense to you, TJ?
I don't think anybody actually is, right?
Oh, you got to go to KS Board.
Okay, so it's real. It's
real.
And
I'm in some. I'm not going to say heated arguments, but I'm in some arguments on there, going like, guys, last season Mark Pope put together a top 10 team with nobody returning, nobody was a teammate. And that was a top 10 team until guys started getting injured. This year, he has a top 5 team So all of this about whiffing on recruits, dude, I don't care if they don't land 17 to 18-year-olds. If they're any good, or they'll get Tyron Stokes. I think that they will. But if he goes to Oregon, because I just don't think he's going to Kansas because of the Adidas thing. Oregon's not winning a national title. So fine, go to Oregon. But in the meantime, we're going to put together a team of transfers that are going to mesh us and get guys who want to be a part of a national championship team. Look at that Florida team last year. Who was their star freshman? I think in the national championship, there was one freshman who got minutes, and he was like the 41st best player in his class. And as for Houston, I forget his name, but that's not the recipe for winning national titles anymore. I know UConn had Stephon Castle, and he obviously helped them get across that finish line and win a national championship. But I just don't think that's – I think we're so conditioned to we need that number one guy. And again, like Tyron Stokes, I still think is going to be a Kentucky Wildcat, and he's going to win a lot of games wearing blue and white. But Mark Pope, I'm going to trust him until he puts together a team that isn't a top 10 team and isn't a team capable of going to a Final Fours and winning national championships.
Yeah, I almost wish that he would whiff on Stokes just because I don't know if he's worth however much money Kentucky's going to pay for him. That being said, I would want him. We will talk about Stokes. We'll get into the craziness that was yesterday. Made me feel old with the Stokes news. But with the AP Top 25 peak, you'd mentioned there's no way to get it perfect. These are just people with opinions, ranking. I did get a little bothered with some of, again, just Kentucky being as low as they were. Not because you can't have the opinion that some teams are better than Kentucky. But I will give a shout-out, because I'm about ready to come after him a little bit. But Eric Crawford, who I think is one of the best journalists.
I love Eric Crawford.
That Kentucky as a state has to offer. Certainly Louisville, WDRB, he is fantastic. We love Crawford. I love that he gives his rankings, and I love that he puts reasoning behind them. You don't see that from other AP voters. There's a few that do it. There's not many. I think everybody should have to do it. You want an AP vote? Then write a story on your vote every week. There, free content item for you, but at least we can see if you know what you're talking about or if you're just
putting
lazy. Yeah, you're just writing things down.
That happens.
So Eric Crawford put UK number 9. So good insight from him to at least have UK similar to where everybody else has UK. And he says, Mark Pope has Otega Oweh back and as deep of a roster as anyone in the country. He added Denzel Aberdeen from the national champion Florida, Mo Diabate from Alabama, and Pittsburgh Jalen Lowe. Returnee Brandon Garrison will start the season in the post, but when big man Jaden Quain gets healthy, look out. All right, that's fine. Doesn't really comment one way or another on UK's roster in terms of he's not making a positive or a negative about it, just mentioning who they have. He is Duke number 5. He says, yeah, I know Duke returns 0 starters, but they do have Caleb Foster and Isaiah Evans back and added Malik Brown from Syracuse. But it's freshmen like Cameron Boozer and his brother Caden. Caden Boozer is not going to be a factor. As well as Dame Sarr, and Dame Sarr is going to be insane. Sebastian Wilkins that have the Blue Devils high on this list. I just don't know what that reasoning and rationale makes Duke 4 spots better than Kentucky.
I think, too.
I mean, there's none, really.
No.
If we want to get into it. There's none, really. And
we don't know. Like, you don't. I mean, that's the thing. All the transfers and all of the new players, I mean, it's impossible to, like. But I think when you look down Duke's. Here's what's stupid about preseason polls is that they influence the rest of the polls. Right?
They do. Yeah.
There's starts at 6.
A domino effect from this moving forward.
Right.
So they're not meaningless, because they will have some meaning. But I always say that in the football polls. It's like when you're doing a college football playoff, especially when it's super subjective and only 4 teams are getting in, how you start the season and ranking them matters.
Yeah.
For sure. Basketball, you get a little more wiggle room because it's a longer season. You get seeded anyways. The seeding process is subjective.
There's more data, too.
But you are right that, like, we set the narrative. Lachlan McLean used to always do this. You a fan of Lachlan's?
Yeah, I was, at least back in the day.
Yeah, I liked Lachlan. He always just would get you feeling something, and I think that's important in radio one way or another. But he would always do this, and it was so dumb, and it was classic Lachlan. But he'd say, so where's UK ranked in the preseason? Number 9? So if UK made the Elite 8, wow, Mark Pope has exceeded the expectations of the preseason. Way to go. And then so like when John Calipari was consistently having a preseason ranking of 2 or 3 or number 1, and then that year wouldn't end in a Final Four, he'd say, aha, Calipari fell short again. That bum, he didn't make a Final Four. All right, they lost in the Elite Eight, Locke. It was a tough loss. They lost on a last-second shot. What do you want them to do about it? Doesn't matter. Preseason rankings. It was a failure of a season. And in some instances, he was probably right that, like, hey, this team fell short. Like in 2018, that was a failure of a season, no doubt about it. I'd say in 2023, with the returning National Player of the Year, not making it to Sweet 16, that's a failure of a season. I would agree with him in some instances, but it's not an end-all, be-all where your preseason ranking is based on where you finish. And I know everybody else knows that. But by Locke's definition, if this UK team can sneak into the Elite Eight, Mark Pope would be exceeding expectations. But in all seriousness, there's not 5 teams better than UK. I think Houston is better than Kentucky. I would like Houston. That's what you have to do. Whose rosters would you trade? And right now, and this kind of shows where your confidence is at the beginning of the year and whatnot. Right now, I would trade Kentucky's roster with Houston's.
Is that it?
That's it.
What about Purdue?
No. Yeah. No. And I think Jalen Lowe is going to have a little something for Braden Smith. And we've talked about that game, and I don't feel great about it. I don't really care about it. It's a free game. But I think Jalen Lowe is going to make everybody's talking about the Purdue guard, and I think they're going to come away from that exhibition game.
Do you update
talking about the Kentucky guard?
If after you see that game on the 24th, and then you see Kentucky play Georgetown the next Thursday, I mean, can they update their AP polls? Like, if it looks like I understand that Kentucky and Purdue, as far like Matt Painter and Mark Pope, are not going to go out there and show everything and get a lot of stuff on tape and everything like that. But I do think they're going to try to win the game.
That's a great point. So, like, all right, preseason poll, and then you get the week 1 poll. What if Kentucky, just hypothetically, beats Purdue by 35 points?
Or loses by 28
People
or
that
something.
see that game, and they're just like, oh, goodness gracious. Are we going to have, like, a week 1 poll where both UK and Purdue go 1-0 or 2-0, beating garbage teams, and then you get the updated week 1 poll from the preseason poll, and then Kentucky moves up to, like, number 2, and Purdue drops back to 16? And it's like, what? How did that happen? Of course, that's being extreme. But theoretically, yes, it should matter. You're ranking things based off nothing.
Yeah.
And then we may actually get a little something. Well, yeah, let's put that into effect. Really, let's have the preseason polls after these exhibition games. Let these meaningless exhibition games have a little bit of weight.
That's a good point. Yeah, I agree with that. Especially, like we said, if this is like the starting point for how you're gonna judge the team, how many ranked wins did you have playing this ranked team on the road or at home, whatever. Do you think Duke will lose an ACC game this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Which one? They're gonna lose at Louisville on January 6th?
They'll probably lose to North Carolina, the Louisville game, and then they could just have a bad day at Miami or at NC State.
Yeah.
There's a couple of tricky teams in the ACC, but they will not go undefeated in conference. Are you suggesting that you think they will?
I'm suggesting that there's a good possibility. Now, you play North Carolina twice, play Louisville twice. Maybe you drop one of those, but the ACC used to be so good at basketball. It used to be one of the premier conferences to watch. And maybe Florida State's gotten them before at Florida State. Possibly, you go on the road and they play Clemson on the road. No, they only got Clemson at home. Yeah, I mean, Louisville might get them.
Louisville's going to be good. I think they'll have a pretty good chance to be able to get them. I don't think that's impossible.
I don't believe in Duke at all this season.
You're not a Duke believer?
They're returning nobody, and they're relying on most of their scoring is going to come from freshmen. So, I mean, like, Duke has done it before, like it happened last year. But, I mean, John Shire also had, like, a generational team where 4 of the starting 5 went up in the first round, and 3 of them are probably going to be up there for Offensive Rookie of the Year in the NBA. So, like, this could be a completely different team for John Shire, and this is going to be one that we learn if he's really the coaching guru that he thinks he is.
They're like the only school still doing this, one and done, winning with freshman strategy. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, no one else is trying
Cal's
this.
still trying it. He's still trying to get
That's
the
true.
star freshman as well.
But he's got DJ Wagner back.
Sure. Yes, he's got blended with other good people. The Duke, here's the deal. Cameron Boozer is awesome. He is really, really good. He's going to be a top 5 pick, top 10 pick. He will be really, really good. And then Dame Sarr is really, really good. Like, those two people, those two people by themselves, if Duke's not at least in the Sweet 16, and really it should be the Elite Eight. If they're not in the Elite Eight with just those two people, then I would be very disappointed with Shire. And then it's basically like, can Evans and Foster be good enough to win a national championship? I like Malik Brown, obviously, a lot. I'm higher on Duke, I guess, than most, but I just believe in Boozer and Dame a lot. But I don't think they should be number 5. I think there are several teams better than them.
That maybe prove that these guys are any good, but
Crawford, for like example, here's what he says about St. John's. Rick Pitino's only restarting starter is Zuby, and he's a really good one. He wasted no time rebuilding through the portal, adding Hopkins and Sonon and Sellers. He didn't mention Ian Jackson. He also got 5 international players, but no true point guard. Still, in Rick we trust. So you're putting St. John's, you're admitting that they don't have a true point guard, which I think you can make a case that Ian Jackson is a true point guard. But I think you can make a case, all right, so you're putting them number 6 just because you trust Rick Pitino? The dude who got thrashed by John Calipari?
That was so unbelievably wild.
Again, I love Eric Crawford, but to put UK behind St. John's just because in Rick Pitino we trust, I mean, come on. These rankings matter a little bit. And you're talking about a difference between 6 and 9. Not that huge. And we will get to see Kentucky versus St. John's play each other, so we'll find out. But I got
going to be so much fun.
I got a little bit more bothered about UK's preseason ranking than I normally do. All right, we're long overdue for our first break. Great conversation. We'd love to hear from you on the Game Day Men's Health text line. We're going to log in for that? I hope so. Okay. Well, we'll see. We're going to take a commercial break, come back, switch gears over to football, because are we going to be doing a little hokey pokey? Probably not, but we'll talk Mark Stoops and Virginia Tech and a weird Monday luncheon with Mark Stoops. This is Kentucky Roll Call. Stephen P. Producer Matt Childers and TJ Walker back after this.
Reigning NBA Slam Dunk Champion, the #1 overall pick in the 2010 NBA Draft, 2010 SEC Player of the Year, UK Athletics Hall of Famer, number 11, John Wall.
Welcome back. Kentucky Roll Call here on Big X Sports Radio, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. Get your text into the Game Day Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. Game Day Men's Health, redefining men's wellness. No shortcuts, just results. You can check them out at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. They're defining a new era in men's health. You get those texts into the show. We'll read them on the air. We're on the YouTube. We would appreciate if you'd go to Big X Sports Radio, search for Kentucky Roll Call, KRC, and like the YouTube channel and comment there if you want. Watch us on YouTube if you want to see Peak, myself, producer Matt. We've got Shannon O'Bannon. We've got Landon commenting on the YouTube page, local John 812. Anyway, you can get in touch with the show. We will find it, and we will comment on it. We are taking callers. We're not really promoting that, but if you're seeing the YouTube page, you can see the call-in number, 502-384-1450, if there's ever just something truly on your mind that you want to talk about or get off your chest. Stephen
I got
Peak,
some stuff to get off my chest.
I know there's some stuff to get off your chest. You were yelling during the commercial break. A little enthusiasm this place has been missing. I was going to the bathroom and just heard, TJ, did you see this tweet? I love it. It's out there. I would like you to read it, please.
All right, this is from the Herald Leader. This is what Mitch Barnhart said about his confidence in Mark Stoops. He says, Mark is working hard. Can I promise everything that everybody wants me to promise? No. Can I ask myself easy questions to sound smart? Yes. No, he didn't say that. No, there's no promise. We can play our hearts out and go and have one tough moment that goes against you in a game, and all of a sudden you find yourself with a loss that you didn't want. And that doesn't mean you didn't give effort, you didn't work your way through it. But Mark and his guys are working hard at it. They're working hard, TJ.
Well,
They're giving it. They're working hard.
That makes me feel better.
You know what?
Tell you that much.
There was a quote Mark Stoops gave yesterday.
Feel all warm and fuzzy.
Somebody
inside.
asked him, you talked all offseason about continuity in that offensive coordinator spot. Have you seen the results that make you feel better about that? And Mark Stoops said, yeah, I absolutely have. Now, I know you guys might come up with some stats to throw at me, but you're not in the building every day. I see how hard they're working. TJ, the stats just don't reflect how hard everyone's working. That's all it is. It's just they're working hard. We're focused too much on wins and losses, TJ. We have to take into account how hard they're working, because it should make you feel better. Does it make you feel better at least? Yeah, they're not winning any games. Yeah, they haven't won a home game home SEC game since 2023. Yeah, they're likely going to go 0-8 in the conference this year. But does that make you feel better that they're at least working hard?
No.
Here's
Okay.
some things we can focus on. 1, we tried hard. And 2, we're still dear friends. Here's some...
Well done, producer Matt.
What a loser mentality.
It really, it's just, all that is just so disingenuous, because it seems to suggest that Kentucky football is close. It's knocking on the door.
They keep saying that.
It's just
We're close.
it's just a missed field goal. It's not a 35-14 loss to South Carolina. It's not a 35-13 loss to Georgia. Stephen Peak, they're close. They're working hard. You can't just let one thing throw away the whole one little bad ingredient throw away the whole batch.
They're taking looks at it.
They are looking at it. You can't let how many straight SEC losses now? How many straight Power 4 losses? Is it 7, 8, 9? You lose track after a little while.
Bad.
And so this is a results. I don't know what Siri's doing here. This is a results-based business, isn't it?
Yes.
Getting close doesn't matter. James Franklin was close. I mean, not so much recently, but like he played in big games. 18 days ago, that guy was playing in one of the biggest, coaching in one of the biggest games in Penn State. I wouldn't say Penn State history, but regular season games. The place is fired up. He loses 3 in a row and he's gone. The Penn State's AD basically said, we can't afford, we're a football school. We can't let this thing slide. Well, dude, I'm so sick of Kentucky football losing games. I appreciate everything Mark Stoops has done. And as a matter of fact, I hope that he figures it out. I hope their hard work turns into wins. I would love nothing more than to be wrong and to cover the rest of the season and go, wow, you really figured this thing out. We pulled off some wins we shouldn't have, and we got some players coming in. But that's the thing. You look at the recruiting has fallen off. What happened to our Yahtzees? I mean,
Yahtzee!
What happened to, like, Kentucky football my entire life? I have been a huge fan of Kentucky football, bigger than basketball to an extent, because I got to go to the games. And going to the games meant, like, as a kid, going down 64 East with my dad and my uncles and my dad's friends and feeling like I'm one of the guys. And it was, and then by halftime they were down 35-0, and then the day was kind of over. But really, like, I grew up a bigger Kentucky football fan. This stuff matters, and I'm telling you, like, it's fun winning at the sport that the other SEC teams really care about. Because when you beat them in basketball, they sort of expected to lose that game. When you beat them at football, it feels so good.
Yeah.
And so to not have any of those in a while, and you know, the Ole Miss game was great, but there is a history of losing with Kentucky football that I just can't understand. How are we still so far behind? And Stoops came in and did a lot of good things, got us 2 10-win seasons. And we can maybe not, I don't have to go into this right now, but I have a take on that. That was like, in 2020, who'd we beat in 21?
I'll take the 10-win seasons without dissecting how you got there.
Me too.
There is some truth to it when you break it down.
But the argument
SEC was in a pretty weak state. Schedule was favorable.
Rich Brooks had to coach against a tougher SEC.
And you still had some losses, really, you probably shouldn't have had in both those 10-win seasons. But here's the take that I have on all this, hearing Mitch Barnhart. And shout out to John Hale of the Lexington Herald-Leader. I think he just tracks these boring-ass meetings because he knows Mitch Barnhart's going to be walking for a second, and then he goes and grabs them.
Oh,
because
nice.
Mitch Barnhart doesn't do these media opportunities. He doesn't set up these interviews, and it really ticks me off. But John Hale works hard to just try to get something on the record, and then normally you get these quotes, which we're dissecting and talking about right now, which is no, there's no promise. We can play our hearts out and go have a tough moment, and that goes against you in a game, and all of a sudden you find yourself with a loss that you didn't want, and that doesn't mean you didn't give effort. You didn't mean you work your way through it, but Mark and his guys, they are working hard at it. You know what this reminds me of? It's such a, I think producer Matt said it, it's such a loser, defeatist mentality, as if Kentucky is perpetually Camp Hope. Did you see Heavyweights?
Yeah, but...
Producer Matt, did you ever get around to seeing Heavyweights?
Did not. I forgot about it, honestly.
What? Producer Matt, that's unacceptable.
I forgot. I'm sorry.
You've got to watch that movie. It's a funny movie. All right, so Heavyweights, it's it's a fat camp, a bunch of kids that are overweight, chubby kids. Their parents want them to lose weight, but they don't want to have to take the time to do it themselves, so they pay to send them to a fat camp. The fat camp ends up just being kind of mostly just a joke, which doesn't help kids lose weight, but instead all the chubby kids just end up being buddy-buddy with each other, usually eating bad food, sometimes even gaining weight. And then that's when Ben Stiller comes in, and Ben Stiller's like, not so fast, fatties. And instead, he makes them actually do work and lose weight, but now the kids aren't having any fun anymore. Anyways, that's the premise of Heavyweight. Go check out the movie. But at the end, it's the fat camp. They take on Camp MVP, which is hilarious, because right across the lake from this fat camp is the opposite of a fat camp. It's like the elite athlete camp, right? It's like we're men, macho men, and we're over here doing hard work, and you all are just eating and doing all that stuff. I can't help but think that, like, Mitch Barnhart views Kentucky football as Camp Hope, and he knows that every week we're taking on Camp MVP, but we're just doing our best.
Yeah.
Like, they're just doing their best. And for what it's worth, Camp Hope pulls off the insane upset, but Kentucky ain't pulling off the insane upset anymore. And just because they're really good in the SEC doesn't mean we can't be very good in the SEC. Because Peak and Matt, look at your current AP Top 25. Indiana football is legitimately number 3, and they probably should be higher. Ole Miss is number 5. And that's a team, no offense, but you had a decent chance to beat despite the current state of the program. Ole Miss is number 5. Georgia Tech football is number 12. Do you see Georgia Tech and think that they're untouchable, they're unattainable, their success can't be matched?
Right.
BYU, put money into their program. They're a legit top 15 program. Mizzou, who you were above, they're 16. Vandy, who you look down a good ways on, they're 17. Virginia, who's a joke of a football program, they're 18. South Florida, they're number 19. Memphis is 22. Utah's 23. Cincinnati's 24.
Ugh.
Why can Kentucky not be in the same ballpark as any of those teams? And the answer is they absolutely should be if you have an athletic director that actually cares about being good at the sport. You're seeing programs fire coaches that are far more successful than Mark Stoops is.
Yeah.
Because those places take football serious.
They also don't get their coaches, and they don't get attached to their coaches through contracts that would require massive payouts within days of firing.
When you stop looking at UK football as a fat camp and start thinking okay, we can do this. We can if we actually have the right people, the right leadership, the people that know what they're doing and in charge. Mark Stoops doesn't know what he's doing in the nil era. He doesn't know how to run a program successfully in the nil era. It's just true. And Mitch Barnhart, I don't know what he would want us to say. Because if you're Mitch, you're like, he's not a dummy. He's not happy with the football program.
He said that. He said it's not at all where we want it to be.
He's super competitive. He's on those sidelines, probably just literally so furious when things aren't going the direction.
He is. I look at him during some of those
He's
games.
probably in a spot where he's like, what can I even say in a spot like this? Speak from your heart, man, and come out and say this is unacceptable. And I hear the fans. That's all you have to say. This is unacceptable, and I hear the fans.
We don't want to hear how hard they're working.
We know that Stoops knows he has my support. He's always had my support, but we've got to start seeing results, and I know the fans are frustrated, and I am too. Don't try. When you try to church it up to make Stoops happy, you're pissing off tens of thousands.
Yeah.
To make one happy, you're going to tick off tens of thousands. Mitch, that ain't the move.
And you're his boss. Like, doesn't he have to?
Yes.
Like, I mean, again, this is a results-based business. And the results haven't been good. And even there are so many wins left on the table the last several years. I mean, not so many last year, but that second Will Levis year and the Devin Leary year. And I think, honestly, man, I think if they'd have pulled out those wins, Mark Stoops wouldn't be here right now. And that's what that contract that you give Mark Stoops so that he will stay your coach didn't matter. He was going to leave anyway.
Yep.
He was still walking out the door.
Yep.
And if he'd had a better 2022, that season, that schedule was lined up for Kentucky to win 10 games. And then in 2023, that schedule was lined up for Kentucky to win 10 games. And you dropped games to teams you shouldn't have. And to their credit, in 23, they beat Louisville, beat a top 10 Louisville team. And right then, that night, we thought Mark Stoops was gone.
UK football
How we would be just a totally different reality right now,
yes.
TJ.
Yeah, it took weirdly a dark turn that night when Texas A&M pulled the rug out.
Because he, in his head, was already there. And that's where I think we're at with these last two seasons. He has already moved on. All of his problems that he looked at that schedule coming up for Kentucky. He looked at the SEC moving to 9 games, and he said, there's a bunch of oil money in Texas, and that's going to rescue me. And I'm going to have a legit shot at playoffs, national championships even. And now he's stuck at Kentucky with all of the same fundraising and the same schedule and the playing behind the 8 ball that comes with at least under Mark Stoops in these last few years. That's what it is, his reality at Kentucky. And
it felt like we were moonwalking down a dead end in slow motion with John Calipari and his contract, and then the Chicken Man came out of nowhere and saved the day.
We have another Chicken Man?
We may have a Turkey Man. We may have a Turkey Boy in Blacksburg. So we'll talk about what that means. Mark Stoops and Virginia Tech linked together. And I don't, spoiler alert, I don't expect anything to come from it, but just the fact that it's discussed, legitimately being talked about, there is something there.
Adam Luckett has a new update.
There is something there, and Adam Luckett has an update. We'll tell you about that. This is Kentucky Roll Call, hour number 2, coming up next on the Big X. Welcome back. I think we ain't done yet. Hour number 2, Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio. Get the Stoop sounder far away from my radio show. That's what I say. It's a new era of KRC, and we've got some new intros. Shout out to Scooter Dingus, Justin Kalen, for getting that stuff set up. Only took him 10 months. Very proud of him. To get the peak part on, though, it only took him about a week. So I'm very proud of you.
I was impressed. It was already ready to go.
Thank you. It sounded great. And then make sure in the next 24 hours, or I guess, the next 36 hours or whatever, wish Scoots a happy birthday. Tomorrow is his birthday, so make sure you tell one Justin Kalen tomorrow a happy birthday. I was going to bring him something tomorrow, but he's going to be golfing. He's going up to Santa Claus, Indiana, going to golf at Christmas Lakes Golf Course, which is very exciting for one Scoot. I'm happy that he's going to get to enjoy the weather on his birthday. So new intro, new co-host, and Stephen Peak, same TJ Walker, a newish producer, depending on when you've been locked into Kentucky Roll Call, but producer Matt Childress. Matt, any takeaways from, I know you said loser mentality with the Mitch Barnhart quote, but any takeaways from that Mark Stoops discussion that we had there in hour number 1?
He's a loser.
Okay.
He's a serial loser, and hopefully he doesn't go to Virginia Tech because we need less losers in that conference.
Okay. You're going to Virginia Tech in a couple weeks.
I will be.
You excited about your trip to Blacksburg? Can you put in a good word for us?
I will. I'll put in a great word for you guys. I'll make sure that their whole 3 fans that'll be at that stadium will be locked in and ready for some Mark Stoops football.
You want Mark Stoops to stay at Kentucky for Louisville? Like, you want Louisville to have an easy win at the end of the season?
In the sense of being a rival fan, like I obviously love watching Kentucky lose, but in terms of the actual rivalry, no, I don't.
Okay,
like,
you want the game to matter.
I want the game to matter. I want every Louisville Kentucky game to matter. There's some of my favorite memories from sports, but at the end of the day, I'm never gonna complain when Kentucky football sucks.
How have these two football teams not figured out how to both be good at the same time? I mean, 2007 was about the closest we got. Or if you want to argue 2010, or 2023.
2023, I'd say, is probably better than 2007.
Because Louisville really fell off that year.
Yeah, they were bad.
They lost to Syracuse?
I don't think they played in a postseason.
No, they actually went 6-6, but that wasn't good enough in the Big East to go to a bowl. Felt bad. Brian Brom was putting up, just insane numbers. Yeah. And they were still losing.
Yeah, that team was supposed to be really good and was not very good.
Yeah, that didn't get the Crackthorpe era off to a good start.
You got Crackthorped, unfortunately. And we're getting stooped right now. But in a similar situation to where you had the Chicken Man from Fayetteville save the day, yesterday, Stephen Peak, social media was abuzz with the hokey pokey that Mark Stoops' name was mentioned. Virginia Tech has an opening. There's a lot of college jobs that have openings, including Penn State. See you later, James Franklin. My national championship pick, not looking so good there with Penn State, unfortunately.
No, I don't think.
I had LSU too, though. They're doing all right. So I've got the Bayou Bengals at least going for me there.
Brian Kelly going to win a national title?
No, he won't. But at least they're doing okay. At least he hasn't been fired like my other title pick in James Franklin and Penn State. But coaching availabilities are becoming open and people are being fired. Unfortunately, Mitch Barnhart ain't going to do that with Mark Stoops, certainly not during the season. But his name was mentioned with some reports from Blacksburg for the Virginia Tech job. Mark Stoops' name is being linked there. And Adam Luckett, shout out to Luckett. He has been all over the reporting with Mark Stoops and Virginia Tech. He's got a post over on KS Board, Stephen Peak, detailing the latest there.
Yeah, he's, KS Board, we got to give a little plug for that, don't we? You can use UK1 as just to sign up and get a month for like $1, I think. All right, there you go.
Wow.
Gotta get that's our YouTube deal, as I run the YouTube channel over there.
Nice.
So yeah, he gave out their list of coaches that they're kind of leaning towards. He says this will be a roller coaster, ride the wave. This is this could get kind of. He described this as being like one of the weirdest links to a coach. It says it feels like Stoops could have a direct relationship with someone in the search committee because he couldn't find any obvious overlap. Part of the reason he became a prime candidate at A&M was due to him and former A&M AD having worked together previously at Miami. So he's saying that there is some kind of connection with the people looking for a coach and Mark Stoops that it is why that he's one of the names mentioned and why he could be one of the finalists. And that, I think you can sort of read body language. And I was at that press conference yesterday, and it was just sad because when we've gone to these in the past, all kinds of media are there, and there was like 7 people there. No Louisville media was there, so there was like 3 cameras.
Oh man!
And Stoops' body language after losses in years past has been reflective of the anger that a fan would have.
Sure.
And it's not there. I just think that
he'd look agitated. He'd look like I know what you're talking about.
He'd come in red-faced, like he just screamed at everybody in the locker room and maybe mad at himself. And
usually getting off the phone with an SEC representative because he's mad about a call from the week before.
Yes, and he would be, super fired up. And it just, there's just been an obvious absence of that. And I just think that if I honestly, going into the season, I did not think like an ACC school would save Kentucky in this position. I just didn't think, that just felt like such a massive step down that he wouldn't even take it. I don't know. I think if he gets offered this, wouldn't you think, like, just get out of this situation? They're moving to 9 SEC games. Do you really want to be here for this?
So let's just entertain all of this as if it's actually truth to it. And again, even if the answer is no, there's no truth to it, or Virginia Tech truly isn't interested in him whatsoever, there is still a piece of news with all this that I'll get to. But let's just entertain it and play with it here for a moment. Stoops, first and foremost, I think he'd have to say, how does this contract work out? If I leave for Virginia Tech, am I saying goodbye to $36 million at UK and instead actually going to have to earn my money in Blacksburg? Because I don't want to do that. I mean, right? No brainer, just right off the jump. Yep. If this is him sacrificing what he probably views as, they're really mad at me, so either they're going to fire me and I'm going to get all this money in 60 days to not work, or I can go to Virginia Tech and then actually have to work.
And he's not going to get $9 million.
No, he's not going to get $9 million a year,
so
I'll be getting a pay cut. So it almost would feel, and I don't know the legalities of how contracts work, but it almost feels like UK would have to say, hey, buddy, go to Virginia Tech, and to go to Virginia Tech, we'll pay some of your buyout. We'll pay you to leave. So you're more entitled to do that. At the same point, though, I don't know how Stoops couldn't just say, listen, I would love to go coach Virginia Tech. I'd love to go coach anywhere but here, but you all have to pay me all this money in 60 days. I'll go take that job next year, and I'll be, $35 million richer because of it. I can take a year off to drink bourbon and go hit up college bars and do all the fun stuff that goes with being a college football head coach. I can do those things.
It's just how much can you take as a human being?
So I don't think that there's anything real to it, unfortunately, just from a money standpoint. But admittedly, I don't know how the dollars and cents of all this would work. But I agree with Peak. No way Virginia Tech would pay him $9 million a year. And I don't see there's any way where Stoops would say, oh, I'm so hungry to show that I can still coach. I'll say goodbye to all this money and then go to Virginia Tech. Cal could do it because he didn't really care. He knew that he was going to get a ton of money from Arkansas.
Yeah, he still got paid.
He's rich for life, and he can get any job after
Mark
basketball.
Stoops still is rich for life.
He is rich. He should be.
This gotten to a point where, like, can my great-great-great-grandson be set for life? And I think these coaches have a level of pride in them that it would make going through another. I mean, do you think they're going to win a Power 4 game? Do you think they'll beat an SEC team?
I think they'll get one this year. I don't know who it'll be. I think they'll get one.
So, I mean, how much can you deal with 8 and 16 over 2 years?
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, it's a joke. And that's another thing going back to what Barnhart told the Lexington Herald Leader. It's just I just hate this like commitment to mediocrity of just being okay. If everyone will reflect on the program that he inherited and where he took us for 8 straight years, and then the changes of the world of college athletics occurred, and it was a struggle for us a couple of years just to try and find our way. And so the middle part, everyone was pretty much on board, and everyone was fine, and now we're having to adjust some changes in college athletics and work our way through it. That is such a BS quote. It is just so – I hate when Mitch Barnhart just thinks we're such dumb idiots that can't comprehend – the landscape of college athletics as Indiana football is thriving, likely to go back to its back-to-back college football playoff.
They're going to host the playoff game.
Then the changes of the world of college athletics occurred, and it was a struggle for us. dude, why? Why was it? Because you're not good at your job? Is that what it is? Then just come out
we
and
were
do that.
late to NIL. I mean, while the other teams were setting up collectives, Tennessee was trying to raise millions and millions of dollars. We were sitting back thinking, is this legal or is this not? While the other ones were like, move fast, break things, apologize later. That's how the other SEC schools, and especially the ones who Tennessee, I'll tell you, is desperate to win. They're doing everything they can to bring a national title to Knoxville. Kentucky, we set and the reason I mentioned, I mean, look, Tennessee has a much greater football tradition than Kentucky does, but for I don't know, before Josh Heupel got there, and even a year of Heupel, for 5 years, Kentucky football was better. But you never, ever, ever heard of, we need to be competing for a national title. Did that ever get brought up? And I get it. That's not going to happen in my lifetime. I don't. We might make the playoffs. We might even get a playoff win. Hell, maybe one year we'll host a playoff game. That should be an expectation. I think once a decade, can we get to the playoffs? Maybe even host it. Is that because I'm doing this whole piece. I was telling you about the Kentucky football and the art of suffering. But the investment in Kentucky football is way greater than it had been in any other point in my lifetime when Mark Stoops got to Kentucky. So the idea that no one has been able to figure this out, no one could win except for Mark Stoops, it doesn't resonate with me. I mean, Rich Brooks played in a tough SEC, had Kentucky in the top 10. Yeah, they dropped some games late. But I want just 1 year out of every 6 for Kentucky to be playing for something. And honestly, TJ, I'm not asking them to make the playoffs. I'm asking, can we play a meaningful November game? Can we play in games where they pick them on College Game Day? Because they're not even picking Kentucky games anymore. If they do, they skim right through it. Oh, yeah, Ole Miss. Oh, yeah, South Carolina, Georgia. And they just go, all right, next game. Can we play in a game in November where they talk about it at the desk for a little bit? I'm not even asking for College Game Day to be there. I'm just saying, can we play in a game in November where everyone else in the country has to tune in?
If you had a financial advisor and you were just kind of you were just putting a little money in here and there, but you told the financial advisor, be as aggressive as you want. The money that I'm putting in, I know I can lose. Just do your magic. Do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then 8 years in, the financial investor came back and was like, buddy, you're rich. This was incredible. We have done things that we didn't think were possible.
Mm-hmm.
We were aggressive. We took some chances.
Yeah.
And you're killing it. I don't know what else to tell you. And you said, keep it going, man. Keep it going. You're doing what I wanted you to do, and you're doing a great job. And then 5 years later, they come back and they're like, you have no money.
Then you're right back to where you started.
You did tell me though that you were fine with you said you didn't have much money when you started this 13 years ago, and you said that, look how much money I did get you. You see how high I got you?
Mm-hmm.
I can get you back there again. Would you keep going with that person? I mean, it's a legitimate question. Some people would say, well, yeah, maybe I should
He'll
take
hit magic again.
Yeah, he'll get it there. He'll get back to it.
Yeah.
But then you look at your financial advisor, and there's bags under the eyes. And you knew that they kind of went through a messy breakup a couple of years back, and you're starting to hear about them being out and about and getting into this, that, and the other. You probably just may say, listen, that was a hell of a ride. It was fun when we were up really high.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that we didn't get back down to where we were. Thank you so much, but I'm going to look for something a little bit more stable. I'm ready for somebody new. I think everybody would do that. If you had a personal trainer and you lost a ton of weight, and then they said, all right, you've lost some weight, now we're going to try this program. And then you put all the weight back on, and then maybe a little, then some. You wouldn't go back to your trainer and be like, I think you can get me to lose that weight one more time. I'm ready. And this time, though, you're going to keep it off me, right? Right? You wouldn't do it. You'd be like, we had some good times. Yeah, you helped me lose the weight, but I want somebody that can keep it going, that can keep it moving. And it ain't you. And that's the same way with Mark Stoops. Mitch, please stop talking to us about how good it was. That was cool. That was awesome. And then you extended them 30 more years, and now we're in a mess. So it doesn't matter what it was because we're not getting back there with this dude. You know it, and I know it. And
has it ever happened? I've literally tried to rack my brain earlier today. When has it ever happened where a coach got rose up the ranks, fell back down, and rose back up again? I just don't think that it happens.
I'm sure it probably has happened.
Yeah,
and you look
but
at
it
these
just-
lifer
it doesn't-
coaches. You know, like I'm sure Joe
Without
Paterno
a new
had
place to go to.
some good highs and lows and whatnot. But this isn't like that anymore. And if it was pre-nil, you'd almost be more likely and have more confidence in Stoops being able to figure it out. But this is a year-to-year thing.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't have Alabama shouldn't be bad 2 straight years. And I'm not talking about them missing the college football playoffs as them being bad. I'm talking about like Alabama shouldn't be 5-7 in back-to-back years. It just shouldn't happen because you can go buy a new roster. You can come bring players in. I know it's harder in football than it is in basketball, but it ain't like Kurt Cignetti needed 3 years to get IU to have a good foundation. So if Stoops couldn't turn it around last year, I promise you he will not be able to turn it around next year. If Stoops couldn't turn it around 2 years ago, I promise you that he's not going to be able to do it in 2 years. Because it's not like you can just snap your fingers and say, I've got this magic, this offensive line coming in the 2027 Kentucky offensive recruiting line. I'm going to get all of them, and they're going to be amazing. It ain't like that anymore. It's just not like it. If you had a great recruiting class in the state of Kentucky, UK would probably have a good chance to get some or all of them, but it'd go to whoever has the most money. And Stoops is not doing anything to bring more money into the program. He's not. And there's nothing he can do besides win, but he allowed the talent to get so poor that he cannot win with this talent. So it's just this revolving door of, we don't have enough money to win. Well, I'm not giving you more money if you're going to keep losing with the money that we are giving you, and it's going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm not saying anything that people don't already know. You, listening, the UK football fan, you sense and feel this level of helplessness. We're there. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
And when you hear your athletic director just talk down to you like you're just the dumbest little turnip off the old bumpkin truck, it just gets old. The other quote that he had, let me see if I can find it. I just wanted to finish up the last thing that he said. Maybe I'll be able to get it. He says, Mark's been a great developer of talent. If you look at the guys that have gone on from this program, he has developed talent incredibly well. We're trying to figure out the balance of making that adjustment between developing and ready to play. But this is Mitch acknowledging that like things have changed. But there's a difference in that, so we're finding a way of how to marry those two pieces up and still have an opportunity to be the program everybody wants you to be. Are we where we want to be? Absolutely not, but we'll continue to battle and see if we can find it. We've got 7 games left and an opportunity to get better every week. I watch our team, and there are young guys in our program getting better. I'm thankful for the job that Stoops has done. I want to make sure that we fight with him and give him the best chance we can to go forward. So there's a bunch of like muckety mook from Barnhart. However, I won't say that this is like a total. He can do no wrong. I'm backing this guy no matter what. Barnhart's annoyed, and I think
it's making him look bad. Of course, he's got to be annoyed.
If you read his tone, you can catch on to it. But Barnhart, there's no spin in this. The dude has lost it all.
I have a question for you guys.
Yes.
This is a complete hypothetical. With what Pete brought up in the history of Kentucky football, just like losing a lot, okay? Like at least within your lifetimes, would you look at Kentucky football different? Would you have rather them I'm trying to think of how to word this. Do you think they would have benefited better playing football in a different conference in terms of developing and trying to become a better program, or do you think the SEC, playing in the SEC, is enough that, because basketball-wise, that it's worth them losing as much as they do? It's
like comparing capitalism and communism, and it's like, well, just look at North and South Korea, right? It's like which one's more successful.
Yeah.
Look at the satellite images at night, right? One is a thriving country, and one is
authoritarian
darkness.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not comparing UK and U of L to North Korea and South Korea, but let's just look at both those. I mean, that is, there you go. Would you rather be U of L and just kind of be a stepchild of conferences, just get in where you can get in, but be successful in these conferences because you're not really going up against the best of the best? Or would you rather be in the NFL Junior but be the stepchild in the NFL Junior, which is the SEC?
I mean, I love being in the SEC, but I want to win games in the SEC.
That's kind of where I'm thinking is like, so you're telling me you would rather kind of be the bottom of the barrel in the SEC every year, but because you're in the SEC?
It's to each their own. I think the ideal is that you're at the big kids table, but you're actually going to be able to hold your own and eat the food with the big kids. But you can't, if you're not at the big kids table, you're never going to really know.
But do they hold their own?
Well, they have. I mean, 2 10-win seasons since 2018.
13?
Yeah. Well, again, it's Kentucky football. It doesn't have the same inherent advantages as an Alabama, as a Georgia, as an LSU, as a Florida. So you are at a disadvantage inherently, but it's not something that can't be overcome, theoretically. So
it's just winning a few.
I would rather win, producer Matt. I'd rather win. Winning's what's most important. But you're not going to go jump to another conference. So
I'm not saying they will. I'm saying that you do think that let's say they had been in the Big 12 this whole time, but they were successful in the Big 12, then moved to the SEC, and then where are they now?
I see what you're saying. So what he's saying is that would it have been better if Kentucky, let's say from 1990 to 2000, was in the ACC where they were able to win games, build up a football tradition of winning, then make the jump to the SEC? Yeah, I think things actually would have been better if you could have done that.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Because here on the flip side of this hypothetical that you have to at least...
Less money?
You got to think about this stuff. What if Kentucky, during that stretch of the 90s in the ACC or the Big 12 or what other conference, if they stunk? You would risk the program just being gone, just people not caring. Part of the reason why UK football fans care is because it is impossible not to care in the SEC.
Yeah, the other schools.
To be an SEC member, you have to care about football, at least in some capacity.
That's the frustrating part about it, actually.
And when UK football fans have had a little taste of success in the SEC, granted not a great deal of it, but a little taste of it, it is addicting. I mean, you can get why football reigns supreme in the
100%.
South is when you go into a Saturday, and Pete talked about it a little bit earlier, but when you beat some of these teams that this is their life. Football is the thing they care most about.
Feels so good.
Dude, it sustains you for a long time.
Yeah.
That feeling genuinely gets you through the week, if not even a little bit longer.
I still think about the faces of those Ole Miss fans. That still gets me through some hard days.
So it is a much harder league. You're setting yourself up for a lot more failure, producer Matt, but the stakes are a little bit higher. And I think if you did this hypothetical and Kentucky was in the ACC or the Big 12, and then they went on a couple hard years, 5 years, 10 years of just not great football, there's a chance that just the program never would come back.
Yeah.
Because people would say, well, I just care about baseball. I care about basketball, football, whatever. We're in a conference. We're in a league that people don't care about. We're a team that people don't care about. We're Boston College.
Yeah.
I would say it's not impossible.
Here's something interesting I had pulled up. Didn't know if I was going to get to it today. But this kind of shows where Kentucky football is for the last 20 years. And even though, Matt, we've had success, Matt makes a good point because – this is SEC football seasons with a 6-2 record or a division title since 2005. Okay, so obviously there's some newcomers to this. Texas has one of those. I don't think Oklahoma does yet, but they might get 6 wins possibly this year. Kentucky and Vanderbilt are the only schools with 0. Everybody else, Ole Miss has 2, Mississippi State, and that's Mississippi State. I mean, we can't compete with Mississippi State.
Yeah,
you've been there before, right? You've been to Starkville.
I have been.
We should be able to do what Mississippi State does. They've had a number 1 ranked team not that long ago, right?
Yep.
I mean,
10 years.
10 years ago. Yeah. I can't believe it's already been 10 years.
That is crazy.
But yeah, and Alabama has 16 of these. Georgia 14, Florida 8. Tennessee only has 3, but Missouri has 3, and they didn't join that conference in 2005. So everyone else has a huge jump on them and that's we don't have the history of winning, but we're not asking to go 6-2 in the SEC. Yeah, I would love 5-3, 5-3, great. And whenever you get a couple of those, that's an amazing Kentucky football season. That means you beat a lot of really good teams. You beat teams where the fan bases really, really care. It sucks that we're right back. Like, Mark Stoops is going to inherit a program that was kind of the laughingstock of the SEC, and he's going to hand it off as the laughingstock of the SEC. And when people argued that he was a victim of his own success, I agree. That was true in 2022 and 23. But 2024 and now what's going to happen in 25, that's just bad. I can handle 7-5. God, what I would give for 7-5 now and to go play in the Gator Bowl. Like, what? I would love it. Please give me a chance to win 8 games with a bowl victory. It feels we're so far removed. Like 2021 feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Has the playoff ruined football for those like mid-conference teams?
Not for me. If Kentucky, I want Kentucky to go to a bowl game. I want to watch a 13th game.
Just because if you don't make the playoff, it just doesn't matter. Really.
Because people like opt out of bowl games all the time now. They don't really count towards anything anymore. So like
they never did though.
They never did, but you at least saw you would put for a long time you would put your starting lineup out there for the Gator Bowl. You know what I mean? You didn't have to go to a BCS bowl to put effort in.
Well, Kentucky
and now
and Clemson,
it's just a lot different.
I think for the regional schools, UK, U of L, and IU, the expanded college football playoff is a total gift. It theoretically, and of course IU's making it, and Kentucky's nowhere even close to sniffing it, higher power. That is so cruel to make IU football just thriving and Kentucky football is just stuck in the absolute grossest of mud.
Is Indiana going to lose a game?
But yeah, I think they'll lose one, but maybe not.
I mean,
they can go to Oregon.
Who do they play? Penn State anymore.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. I just think they'll drop one somewhere along the way because that's football. But I do think regionally for the local schools, the expanded college football playoff is a dream. It's a gift to all of them. Because, one, it can keep you engaged longer in the season maybe we can make the college football playoff. Maybe
Kentucky's not out yet.
Can extend into it. But if you don't make it, places like Alabama or LSU, we didn't make the college football playoff, well, the season's over. I don't think that necessarily will apply to UK and U of L or IU, and maybe those programs will be successful enough someday where it'll be a travesty if they don't make the college football playoff. But at least in current settings, if UK, IU, U of L, if they fell short, and again, it's a little different with IU currently, but if they fell a little bit short, okay, you get to go to a fun bowl game. All right, neat. That's not what we were going for. It's not the coolest thing in our program's history, but this was still a good season objectively. But with the teaser of the college football playoff still being there, you're going to get these programs engaged, ideally, a little bit longer. Unfortunately for UK, they're nowhere near that right now.
I do wonder. Sorry, do you have to get to a text line?
I want to get to the text line when we can, but no, if you've got another point, go ahead.
Well, just that to Matt's point, I do think that you saw some guys when the losses, especially after that Vanderbilt game, when it was clear you can't make the playoffs now. I think that a lot of players, I don't want to say checked out, but there was certainly there wasn't the same intensity. You had guys start to think about their draft status and if they want to play through an injury or not. And I mean, I think that does happen everywhere. That was not unique to Kentucky, but in years past, we would go into a game where if we were 5-6 and we have a chance to beat Louisville and get that 6th win and go to a bowl, that was a huge game for us. You remember those first few years under Mark Stoops, that being the case, them going into that to game 12, needing to win to go to a bowl game, and that meant a lot. And I think it still does, especially when you're not going to go to one for 2 straight seasons.
No doubt about it. Let's hit on up the Game Day Men's Health text line. A texter says, does Georgia Tech have more SEC titles than Kentucky? I think they may. I don't think UK football has any SEC championship.
We went 6-0 in 1977 in the SEC. So I don't know if we won.
Well, I just meant like they've never played in the SEC championship game.
Gotcha.
UK's SEC championship, I think, came before the SEC championship game took place.
I am looking it up, though, and Wikipedia is not doing me any favors. It's listing out every sport. So,
Texter says, a school that big isn't hiring Kentucky's failed coach. James Franklin, though, he's a big-time coach. Did he pick the wrong players? He certainly had the money. If I was a Virginia Tech fan, I would not want Mark Stoops. He would not be my first choice. But if that's who you ended up with, I would all right, hey, we're Virginia Tech. The program's been terrible. Things aren't looking good right now. But we did hire the winningest coach from an SEC program, an active winningest coach at an SEC program to try to clean this up. You could do a lot worse than Mark Stoops. If there was a guy named Sark,
Georgia Tech does have more SEC titles than Kentucky does.
If there was a guy named Sark Moops, and he was the winningest coach of some program, let's just say like ECU or something. No, it probably needs to be bigger than that. What would be like a comparable? Like Utah. Let's just do Utah.
Okay.
Like, let's say there's a guy named Sark Moops, and he's the defensive genius at Utah. He's Utah's winningest coach, but Utah's just kind of been, they've hit a wall. It's just kind of been vanilla. And Moops needs a new change of scenery, and Kentucky would need a new coach. I'd be open to that because it's like, all right, this is a proven
how
guy.
hard is this Sark Moops working? How motivated is he?
That's a factor, too. Point being, if I was Virginia Tech and it was like, all right, I've got option A, B, and C, but I end up with Mark Stoops, could be worse than that. And I think he could win in the ACC if he's actually rejuvenated. It's a much easier conference to win. He gets good defenses and stuff. You get the players that you feel like he'd be able to get from the DMV area.
Virginia Tech said they are investing a lot of money. Their board approved like $212 million to spend on athletics. And, we didn't consider this, TJ. Is it possible the quotes you're reading from Mitch Barnhart are a subtle sales pitch? Like, yeah, the results aren't good, but I'm telling you, you people in Blacksburg, he's working really hard. Just the deck is stacked against him. I should do more maybe to help, but it's just we can't.
Guys, I would give him the money if I could.
If you guys have the money, he'll win.
You need him. Don't look at the analytics. This is a vibes guy.
Man, it sucks. I like Mark Stoops, man. I wish I want him to figure it out. I want to win with Mark Stoops. I want him. That moment in Ole Miss when he's walking off the field and he gives the F yes to the fans, and I'm standing right there next to him, and I'm just like, yes, Mark, like, come on, let's turn this stuff around, let's win some. And it's just, we haven't won an SEC game since. I mean, it's crazy, and it sucks, man, because like same thing with Cal. Like I respected these guys so much, and I do think with Cal. He did pretty well at Arkansas last year. He'll probably do well this year. I do think a change of scenery. I think if Mark Stoops got out of Lexington, got a chance to refresh and just put on a different shirt, put on a different color shirts, get behind the Hokies, you might.
He'd look great in maroon. He'd love it. Blacksburg, great college town. He'd kill it there. Remember when Scoot started at Big X and started immediately doing Roush's roll call? Good times. Well, Texter, you're wrong because Scoots was at Big X before Roush was at Big X. But I think when you meant when he started doing roll call, he started doing the roll calls. You're right about that. Was that the latest first break in the history of this storied radio program? No. We had actually there was a time where we just ran through the first hour from time to time. What were our highest rankings during the Stoops era, says one texter. What was it? What was the highest UK's been in the Stoops era? They get to like number 6?
Yeah, I want to say this. It would have been the 2018 team, right? That got. Let's look up the 2018 Kentucky team, and I think in 21, when they played the Georgia game, see, that's what happened. They ran into Georgia both those times, and it actually like ruined their season. They got to 9th when they played Georgia in 2018, lost 34-17. And then lost to Tennessee right after. I mean, a Tennessee team that they should have beaten. That should have been a 10-win regular season. And then you're playing in a New Year's Six Bowl.
Yep.
And the same at 21. That is the Mississippi State and Tennessee games in 21.
Mississippi State.
Kentucky, yeah. So they got to 12th that season, and that was their highest ranking. But then they, that Chattanooga game in 21. I forgot they almost lost that one. That's going to be interesting, TJ. I mean, all right, the worst case scenario, Kentucky also loses to Tennessee Tech, because if you go back and look, in the Mark Stoops era, they play these FCS. You have to get rid of them then, right?
It's over. And at that point, what message are you sending by keeping that?
Well, here's why I bring that up, because here's what's happening. Here's what's happening right now. It's happening this week when they play Texas. And this is the worst part of sports fandom. They're going to be Kentucky fans rooting for Tennessee Tech to win that game.
Yeah, I think that's horrible, but that
sucks.
That's what Mark Stoops has done. That's the position that we're in. And then the one caveat, and we'll throw it over to our last break, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up the text line on this Tuesday edition of Kentucky Roll Call. Stephen Peak, TJ Walker, producer Matt Childress, is just the fact that he's on this list, though, and Peak alluded to it from that Luckett report, that I wonder what the connection is here. Who does he know that got his name on the list? I can't stress this enough, and I'm glad that Luckett talked about it as well, because I couldn't agree more with it. The fact that he's on this list means things are moving, means things are happening behind the scenes. And I love it. I love that news. Like, I love that news. Doesn't mean that it's a guarantee that he's not UK coach next year, although I do feel strongly that that will be the case. It's certainly not a guarantee that he's going to be Virginia Tech's next head coach. I will be shocked if that happens. But just the fact that Jimmy Sexton, his agent, is working behind the scenes and his name's getting floated out there and he's just being mentioned, it means that in Mark Stoops' camp, they know we need to look for the next horizon.
That's a good point.
Because you're not coming back and getting a raise at UK anymore. This isn't, we're floating your name out there, so do you really want me to go, or are you scared? No. We will help you pack, big boy, and we will knock you out the front door. We do not care in the slightest, but I am optimistic the fact that his agent is getting him on some list, getting his name out there. You'd be crazy to hire Mark Stoops right now. And if you're Mark Stoops, you'd be crazy to say goodbye to all that money. However, I think some seeds, some very, 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 very early seeds are being planted, and I take that as a positive if you want a new future for UK football, and I certainly do, and I bet you do as well. One final segment, Kentucky Roll Call, coming up next on the Big X. Stephen Peak, producer Matt, TJ Walker, your text. Welcome back. One final segment, Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio.
Chandler.
Producer Matt Childress, Stephen Peak, I'm TJ Walker. This is Roll Call. That was Colin Chandler, the Mormon Mamba. He's got a bunch of other nicknames, doesn't he?
Yeah, Matt, how scared are you of Colin Chandler on November 11th?
It's a good question.
Absolutely terrified. I think Colin Chandler's going to dunk over me.
Yeah, you better watch out.
Yeah.
I think he'll just get us mistaken for like all the people that are on the court, and I think he'll actually run into the crowd at the Yum Center and
go
just
around
start dunking on people.
Yeah.
Colin Chandler, he is a forgotten piece of this UK team, Air Mormon. I'm excited about him, though. I think between him and Denzel Aberdeen, you've got a lot of options at the backup guard position, if you will, assuming that Jalen Lowe and Otego Owe are going to be your leaders at 1-2, but potentially you're going to have somebody else. Maybe Aberdeen, start with them. Have those three as the starters back there potentially. Maybe Colin Chandler will sneak in there potentially.
He might. Yeah, that's a good point. He
Cam
might.
Williams, maybe. We haven't really gotten to talk a lot about BB and FanFest from Saturday. Talked a little bit about Big Blue Madness, but did you have a good time at FanFest, Stephen Peak?
It was awesome. What a great event. I know we talked about the cell phone thing last time I was in here about people taking photos, and you know what happened? A lot of people didn't get autographs because they said, do not take photos, just go get the autograph and keep the line moving, and they just can't. People can't do it.
People would get the autograph and want to go get a picture.
Got to take a picture too, and of every player. They're telling, come on, you can't. We told no, and they're like, oh, but I just want to just live your lives. Live your lives. I know you have the photo might last longer than you might lose the autograph, but
easy thing to do. Hey, here's the autograph line. If you take out your camera, you will not get your autograph. And as a matter of fact, we're going to kick you out of the city of Lexington.
That line
you got to leave.
Was
and then
insane.
Over here is our picture line. You know, like in this line, you're not getting an autograph, but if you want a quick picture,
I see what you're
come
saying.
get a quick
Split the
picture.
players up.
They split the players up. Over here, you're getting your pictures. Over here, you're doing your autographs. But you're not doing both. Because you're right. There's some people that just want a picture. I don't care about your signature. That doesn't mean anything for me. But the memory of me with you, it's going to make my parents happy.
Yeah.
And then other people, I don't care about a picture with you, but my dad would love your signature on this ball. Yeah, that would have been a good solution. But everything I've heard, including from you, has been nothing but wins.
It was great. It was great. That's the kind of stuff that Kentucky. I give them a hard time for some of that extra off the court. You know, the atmosphere and getting fans engaged. They knocked it out of the park with Big Blue Madness and FanFest. So hopefully that's a tradition that will continue. And it was free to get in. And
very cool.
I mean, you got to hang out. I got to hang out with Tubby Smith, man. Tubby Smith, that was my coach. That was my formative years as a fan.
I want to talk some Tubby Smith tomorrow.
Yeah,
there was
we'll
a lot of good. He was on some podcasts, and I heard a lot of good stuff from Tubby Smith. So excited to get into that a little bit more tomorrow. Pod Row was a big success.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Guy,
Is there any
made the rounds and
radio shows there, or just only podcasts?
It looked like it was just podcasts. Some to be honest, hadn't heard of before, but everybody was nice. It was cool.
What was one that you hadn't heard of before?
See, that's the thing. I haven't heard of them. So like I saw the logo and then I haven't checked it out yet. But I'm sure it's good.
Next year, our radio show may need to identify as a podcast.
Okay, yeah. We technically are a podcast.
We really are a podcast. It almost felt a little discriminatory for it to be called Pod Row, where everything else is called Radio Row.
Yeah.
So you almost feel like they said it specifically to be Podcast Row.
Well, there could be other radio shows
to exclude radio shows.
Yeah. That probably was more intentional. But
because every radio show is a podcast.
Technically, yes.
But not every podcast is a radio show.
That's also true.
I thought you were trying to be more inclusive, University of Kentucky.
I think KSR, we were the only ones who were doing something live. Maybe Dylan Ballard was doing his, but no, that was cool. That was and the other thing is Kentucky, like they were going out of their way. TJ, they went and got me batteries. Like I needed batteries, and it was Jake Most went and got batteries and brought them to me, and Deb was coming over and helping us. Like it was like, whoa, what is this? Like this is totally new. A couple years ago, that was not like it felt like it came from the top with Cal. That it wasn't. We're just not helping media out because we don't like them. But this is a very different Kentucky basketball.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
It's the people that were out there on Saturday seemed to have a great time. We'll get to that a little bit more tomorrow. Let's read more text into the Game Day Men's Health text line. I want to remind you about Salsaritas. Download that Salsaritas app. Kids eat free on Sundays, and it is great. Salsaritas, wildly addictive chips, burritos, covered patio in St. Matthews, drive through in Middletown, and they're out in Bullitt County, right off I-65 in Shepherdsville. A texter, Buzz, if you're listening to the show, you're just sending in blank text messages for what it's worth.
I just opened the text line, and I just got notified an incident has been posted to the status page. So maybe it's a text line thing.
Okay, got it.
Oh, no.
Could be on our end, Buzz. But other texts are coming into the show. One says, Air Mormon, well done. I did not come up with that, but that's out there for what it's worth. Another texter says, great show yesterday, fellas. Yeah, I hate missing the Monday shows. That's never what we're looking for. Another texter says, this is Patrick Murphy. Hopefully Kentucky does well this year. I haven't seen a Kentucky basketball game in person ever. Well, you got to. I don't care if you're not a UK fan. Seeing UK play at Rupp Arena, whether it's against your favorite team or whether it's against just some random team, if you are truly a fan of college basketball, it is a must.
Well, what's more important, TJ, watching Kentucky basketball play or winning a pool competition? Because he's stacked up against the best out there.
Yeah, he is our resident pool player on the Game Day Men's Health text line. I'd say winning a pool tournament, probably more important. That can last with you forever. You can go to any old UK basketball game. But winning a pool tournament, yeah, that's pretty special stuff. But no, I highly recommend. I'm going to get to I will always at least go to one game at Rupp Arena. Back when you covered them, you went to all of them. But now you have kids. I don't get to go to many of them, and I'll be going as a fan. But I went to the LSU Senior Day game last year, Peak. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I saw you there.
Great time.
Right? You had great seats.
Yeah, that was the only game I went to, so I splurged and did my little ticket strategy, my method, which is buy tickets as late as possible. Those tickets were significantly cheaper than you'd ever imagine for the seats that we had.
Okay.
And we had an absolute blast. So excited to get back to Rupp Arena. It helps when you got a top 10 team as well. Texter on the Game Day Men's Health text line says, this is from Kirby, stop moving the goalposts on Pope. Hoping we go to a Final Four and win number 9 this year, but it's fair for fans to want Pope to hit on a big recruit that's not from Lexington. It's part of the gig. We want the best of the best, not mission critical right now, but it's a checkbox he needs to check at some point. So I agree on all this. And secondly, I will just say if they land Stokes, you will have people say, well, he's still got Kentucky ties. He's
you're right.
You know?
You're right.
When is Pope going to land one that has 0 outside Kentucky ties? So there will be some truth to that. My thing on, listen, if you get Stokes, I even said last week, like you need to land him. You've gone all in on him. Everything is seemingly good there in that recruitment. So go ahead and cross the finish line. You should do that. And I think that ends up being what happened. I'm just saying if it ends up not happening, Peak, I'm not going to be all that mad about him just because you're probably asking $3 to $4 million for Tyron Stokes. And if Kentucky decides to have that money go to the transfer portal or go to Caleb Holt or go elsewhere, I wouldn't be heartbroken.
Yeah, and that's the thing about this new age of recruiting. Like back in the past, yeah, you had to sell the program, and now they're not committing to Mark Pope. They're committing to the money. I mean, yeah, it's an added benefit that you get to play for a great coach and you get to play at Rupp Arena and you get to play for the greatest tradition in college basketball and you get to play in a lot of games on national television. There's a plethora of reasons why you should go to Kentucky if you're one of the best basketball players in the country. There's also millions of reasons why you could go elsewhere if other schools are willing to pay that, and if the bidding war happens and it gets to a certain point, it's like, well, could we spend this money and get and instead of spending $4 million on one player, could we spend $2 million a piece and get 2 really, really good players?
Yeah.
And so you have to think of it that way. Here's one thing, TJ, somebody mentioned on the board that I agree with. When Kentucky backs off a recruit, they should start saying that in some way.
Yeah.
Or at least notifying the people who cover recruiting.
The old staff had that was the only time they would talk to you, honestly, is when they'd be like, hey, we're going elsewhere.
Yeah.
Hey, so-and-so's going elsewhere.
Because you don't want to take the L. And I think a lot, like, they're not doing that. And there's nothing wrong with them not telling the media or telling people that we're backing off recruits, because you could go the Pat Kelsey route and say, yeah, I don't want him because he's selfish. And then that seems like, come on, you shouldn't do that. But I agree with
that's why I wish I just knew the dollar amounts with the players, because I am intrigued.
Yeah.
It seems like UK is willing to play ball with Stokes. All right, so-and-so's coming with this much money, we'll beat it. And by the way, it seemed like all that Kansas smoke yesterday was just like a fabricated, sort of made-up sort of deal. That he's not going to go to Kansas. You don't have to worry about him going to Kansas. I did not know this. I'm not in the recruiting game, but that's just what I could piece together from everything that was going on yesterday. One thing that I find interesting is, though, you'd be willing to drop this amount of money for Stokes, but you weren't willing to do it for Caleb Wilson last year, which you get Caleb Wilson on this year's team, you're pretty well stacked. I mean, you're stacked at every position.
Yeah.
You didn't want to spend that money on Donovan Dent, but did you just get Jalen Lowe for a much cheaper price potentially? But Stokes, you're willing. You didn't get Luxembourg from Michigan. Yaxel Luxembourg. You didn't get Yaxel Lindenberg from UAB.
Mm-hmm.
You could have gotten him on this year's team as well. So it's just interesting where you're piecing where it's like, all right, we'll splurge on this dude, but it got too high for these other guys. It got too high for Caleb Wilson. It got too high for Donovan Dent. It got too high for Yaxel Lindenberg.
Well, Donovan Dent was not going to lead you to a national title. I think the hope is that Tyron Stokes is the kind of guy that will do that.
You don't think Donovan Dent could lead you to a title over a Jalen Lowe?
I don't think Jalen Lowe is going to lead you to a title either. But I'm just saying, like, if you're discussing why would you give this much to Tyron Stokes and not to Donovan Dent? I think the reason is because you think Tyron Stokes is good enough that in his one season of college basketball, he can take you to a Final Four and potentially win that game in the first Monday of April.
I hear you. I guess that's probably the line of demarcation, if you will. Are they good enough to win you a title for X amount
How
of money?
How much money would you spend to win a title?
Yeah.
You can't guarantee anything. As we talked about, the John Wall team should have been a national championship team, at minimum a Final Four team, and they didn't make it. So but I do think if Tyron Stokes is as good as he is, as everyone says he is, he'll be worth it. And honestly, it's not my money, TJ, so I don't care. So
no, you're right.
If you
it's
want
not our money.
Spend it and let's bring it.
But it is our year of talking about it. It's our year of fandom as well. So there's only so much money in the banana stand. So what you spend, you can't get back, and you just want to put together the best piece that you can. But yeah, there's a billion different ways to skin a cat, and Pope so far has done a great job putting together rosters.
I wish I could access the text line.
Yeah, we gotta change that.
There is like a Big X login that you can use.
Okay, well maybe we'll get that tomorrow.
Our Buzz says, trying from a different phone, today's coaches need to be gregarious, not droll. Must convince investors and players alike that UK is the place to play. Money from investors and out to players is the winning way today.
I love that he used gregarious.
I do as well. And no, I don't know if you meant that around football or if you meant that around basketball, but it seems to apply to the football conversation we were having last segment, is to win, you have to have money. I mean, it's just a no-doy comment.
Mm-hmm.
And Kentucky and Mark Stoops, zero money. And they're not going to be bringing in more money. It's just a dead-end spot, and Mitch Barnhart's got to figure out to make things right. A texter says, I agree with Peak. I absolutely don't care if Pope even recruits high school kids. If you get a stud, cool. If not, absolutely don't care. Cooper Flagg was a generational player. That means there won't be another for a long time.
If you get an Anthony Davis level,
not true.
If you get an Anthony Davis level or Cooper Flagg level, yeah, I want those guys. And if Tyron Stokes is that, I mean, hell yeah, bring him in. But I don't know. And you said it last show. I was like, the class is just, this class isn't as good. This class isn't as good. But it's like, does it matter if Tyron Stokes is the best player in previous classes? Does that change your opinion?
I think it just depends on how much it costs. Like it seems like it's a lot of money.
It does seem like how much it costs. But again, if you're Pope does need to check this box. He does need to let the country know if there's a top recruit out there, I'm a player for him. And you can't really let the rest of the country know until you land one of them.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will be the one that he lands, and it'll send a message, and he'll come in and he'll be ready to rock and roll. One other texter, and then we're going to wrap up the show. Did Peak just say he doesn't care if we get any recruits? Yeah, okay, man, that'll work.
I think I meant freshmen. I don't.
And he's saying that money could be spent on the transfer portal.
Yeah.
It could be well spread.
We obviously need to bring in freshmen and build them up, but the one and done, you're going to try to win this year with this guy. I just don't know if that's the strategy anymore.
What happened to Roush, says one texter. He gained too much weight. Needed to get off the show so he could work out. Everybody have a great Tuesday. This was a fun show. Glad to be back in the saddle. We'll be back at it again tomorrow at noon. This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio. Stephen Peak, TJ Walker, producer Matt Childers.